Man, ChatGPT almost made me cry. Have you ever felt like you one of those people that was so talented, oh, that was so gifted, right? That had so much to give to the world. You had some structure to your life, but it just seems like you could never figure it out. It just seems like thing after thing keeps getting in your way. And the most important thing that keeps getting in your way is you. From your decisions to your habits to being afraid of leaning into the greatness that you know that you have, making excuses, whatever it is. I ask you that, man, because I feel that same way every day. And I'm still young, but man, I'm starting to get a little bit older and I'm starting to wonder, man, if the way I'm living my life and the decisions and the habits that I have, are they going to be the reason that I never get to live the life that I truly want to live? Will I ever be truly successful if I never change? I'm super excited to get into this episode with y'all, man, and be able to break that down and share more of that. But before we do it, let's have our intro. We're going to get right to it. Let's go.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Quite literally, Will Tidwell, a younger gentleman.
I wish I didn't have this big heart. People just do nothing but hurt me. Anybody can dream the dream. Anybody can have a goal, but see,
You're going to be a neighborhood hero. You just keep shining, young king. What's going on, man? This is Will Z Tidwell with SpeakUPZee, and you are now tuned into the episode of SpeakUPZee, the podcast, man. The podcast, we talk about real things with real people. Everything from life to business to mental health and everything else in between, man. I got a very special episode for you guys today. Man, ChatGPT almost made me cry, man, because, man, sometimes it's like these thoughts are in my head and things that I really want to get out. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes I talk to ChatGPT. Sometimes I ask it questions. Sometimes I lean on for it for certain things, man. And so I was just thinking about my life, you know what I mean? And thinking about like, man, if these certain aspects of my life don't change, and if I don't strive to truly become a better person, not just saying it because it sounds good, but really trying to become a better person and stop getting in my own way, will I ever be truly successful? Will I ever truly be able to become the person that I was meant to be? I don't know, man. And so I want to share the exact question or statement that I asked ChatGPT that sparked this episode that I'm sharing with you today, because it hurt me, man. It cut me deep, rather. It didn't hurt, but it cut me, and it read me like a book. And you know what, ChatGPT? The thing about mastering ChatGPT and the thing that you have to understand to get the best out of the system, you have to talk to it as if it's a toddler, but understanding it has the brilliance of one of the smartest things in the world. But the way you have to give it the information to get the best out of it, you have to break it down to its lowest point. And so I asked this very particular question. I said that, talk to me about the philosophy of the person who is so talented but struggles to improve their lifestyle and has discipline but focused on women and sex and smoking and staying up late, having poor spending habits, not great at keeping up with relationships and maintaining them, and so on and so forth. Will I ever be able to reach my full success if I don't change? Now I'm being very raw and transparent with y'all in my day-to-day life, because sometimes people can get so caught up in seeing that you have the following and you have the people that support you and you're doing some dope stuff and you're traveling and you're having fun and you're doing all of this, but people don't even know, man, that means nothing. It's people every day that are out here that look like they live in the life they always dreamt of with all these different experiences, but are they truly successful? Are they truly happy? Do they look like success, or are they really success? And to be honest with y'all, man, I think I'm getting to a point in my life where I'm tired of looking like success. Not that I try to pretend, but it's just that's what the image that I have put out, right? That's what the person on the outside looking in seems to see. But on the inside with myself, when I'm sitting there alone in that room at night and I'm all alone, I don't feel very successful. I don't feel like I'm anywhere near my full potential. And it eats you up inside when you know that you're gifted, when you know you're talented. You just can't seem to quite figure it out, man. And one of the biggest things is all because of you. And so I want y'all to know what they said to me when I asked them that question. Again, I talked to them about the philosophy of the person who is talented but struggles with their decisions. And he said that, or they said that, or it said, the philosophy of a talented person who struggles with discipline and lifestyle habits often revolves around short-term gratification versus long-term fulfillment. It's not that talent is wasted. It's just not being fully directed towards something sustainable. The mind is wired for comfort, and if unchecked, it naturally leans towards pleasure, escape, and distraction. It's not that the talent is wasted. That's the number one thing that stuck out to me. It said it's not being fully directed towards something sustainable. For someone caught up in the cycles of women or sex or smoking weed or staying up late or poor spending or difficulty maintaining relationships, whatever the challenge may be, the challenge isn't just about self-control. It's about deeper internal conflicts. Maybe there's avoidance of responsibility or the fear of failure or the fear of success. Maybe it's a lack of clear structure or even emotional wounds that make temporary pleasures feel more rewarding than long-term discipline. That last part really struck me when it says that emotional wounds that make temporary pleasures feel more rewarding than long-term discipline. Like, think about how many blessings that we have probably delayed in our own life because we have wounds that have never healed within us. And we're so caught up in focusing on temporary pleasures that we avoid being disciplined for long term and long times of period. We so worried about the immediate future and just trying to feel better for the moment that we put aside the things, our responsibilities and things we know we need to be focused on just so we can feel good for the minute. And over time, when you look up, you realize, like, if I would have been directing my talent and my time and my effort towards something meaningful, even though it wouldn't have felt good in the moment, even though those temporary pleasures in the moment felt so much better, even though those things that I indulged in that distracted me from what I really needed to be doing, even though that felt better in the moment and what I really should have been doing really sucked and I just didn't want to do it because it was boring or it took too long or it got old doing the same repetitive things over and over again in my life, I would have understood that if I would have just stuck with it, then maybe I'd be further along than I currently am. And I went on to ask this next thing, or he went on to answer the latter part of my question. And he said that, will you ever reach full success if you never change? And he said the honest answer, he said no. He said, not in the way you probably envision success. Now, you still might find moments of achievement, but true sustained success requires alignment, where your talent and your habits and your daily actions push toward a larger goal. He gave some key points. He said that, man, discipline is freedom. That's so good. Discipline is freedom. It seems restrictive at first. Like when you first start working on being disciplined, it can seem like it sucks. It can seem like the most boring thing in the world. But it's freedom. But once you develop consistency, he says your mind is freed from self-doubt, regret, and wasted time. He says success is about systems, not just skill. The most successful people aren't just the most talented. They're the ones who have routines, accountability, and structures in place to maximize that gift. And see, that's the thing. The system that works for this person may not be the system that works for you, but half of the problem with so many people, including myself, that want to be successful and want to live a certain life and want to have nice things and want to be able to do what they want, is that they have no system at all. A lot of times we wake up and we just go about our life just frailing, just figuring it all out as we go. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it's okay to be impromptu. Sometimes it's okay to have to figure out things on the fly. I get it. But if we go our whole life and we never have any structure, we never have any direction, right? We never commit to consistently doing the same actions that we know can bring about true success and results. Then how can we ever find the path that we need to go down that can lead us to all of the beautiful things that God has in store for us? How can we ever find that path if we have no direction? How can we ever truly be successful? And the last point he made, he said that your lifestyle either builds or breaks your future. And this one was so good. He said that what you consume mentally, physically, socially will shape who you become. Said poor habits may not destroy talent immediately, but they will erode it over time. See, so when we indulging in these temporary things that we think are making us happy and we think that are making our life better and we think is making us feel good, it may be doing that for the moment. And you may not even notice that it's wasting your talent at that moment. You may think that you can still be the same talented individual and be the great person that you are, but still be bullshitting and lollygagging through your life. And it's not going to impact you because it doesn't feel like it is in the moment. But the more that we keep choosing temporary happiness and temporary feelings of gratification, we keep avoiding doing the hard things in our life, doing the consistent things in our life. Eventually, your talent will erode over time until it gets to the point where, because what a talent eroded in real time looks like, or over time looks like, is that it gets to the point where when people see you in 10 or 15 years, they might not even realize who you are. Because the person they remember used to be so gifted, used to be so talented, used to speak so well, used to write so well, used to have all these great ideas, used to be the top of the class, used to do all of these things. But now when they see you, that's not who they see anymore. And 9 times out of 10, the reason why that is because the person that you are now, there were too many times in your life where you chose temporary pleasures and gratification instead of doing the hard things. And every time you chose temporary pleasure over doing the hard things, your talent left you a little bit more and more. Your gift that God gave you left you a little bit more and more until it literally eroded over time. And you destroyed it. Now, the beautiful thing about it is that you can get it back. But the hard thing about it is that it's going to require you to eventually make a decision to say that even though this temporary stuff does feel good, even though the women do feel good, even though going out and kicking it does feel good, even though the drugs and the drinking do feel good, even though sitting up and doing nothing when I know I got a lot I could be doing does feel good. I want my life to change. If I want my life to change, I got to choose doing the things that suck sometimes. Because doing the things that suck sometimes is usually what leads to success. And it's just real. And that's just real, man. And it goes even further. And I asked it one more question. And I want to read this one to you. I said, do you think that avoiding the hard things and leaning into temporary satisfactions. I said, do you think some of that could be my traumas in my childhood? He said, absolutely. He said, a lot of what you're describing, avoiding discomfort and seeking distractions and struggling with consistency, can deeply be rooted in childhood experiences and past traumas. The way we cope, the habits we fall into, and even the fear of sitting with ourselves often comes from how we learn to handle stress, pressure, and emotions growing up. How childhood and trauma might be showing up. It says one, avoidance as protection. If you grew up in an environment where pressure felt overwhelming, or if success felt tied to unrealistic expectations, your mind could have learned to dodge discomfort instead of facing it. When things feel uncertain or hard, your brain signals, find something that feels good right now. And that could be spending money, being around women, being around men, partying, kicking it, smoking, or anything that just gives a quick relief. Don't you feel like that sometimes? Like when you're dealing with stuff that is hard, when you're dealing with stuff that's uncertain and you don't know what's next and you're afraid, or you're feeling pressured and you're feeling overwhelmed. Instead of us dealing with that stuff, I'm no different. Instead of us dealing with that stuff, we run from that stuff and we go seek stuff and people and things that make us feel better. But what we don't realize in the midst of that is that it's only making us feel better for the moment. And everything that we were pulling from is still going to be right there. Number two, it says that fear of loneliness and discomfort. If you experience neglect, inconsistency, or even a lack of emotional validation as a kid, solitude can feel unsafe rather than productive. Being alone might subconsciously trigger feelings of I'm not supported or I'm not enough, which makes distractions feel like a safer place to be. See, because when we by ourselves, the thoughts and the voices, and the internal dialogue that we have with ourselves, it can tell you some terrible things. And because we feel alone and we feel don't we have anybody and we feel like nobody's there for us, we're seeking connection and attachments for all the wrong reasons. Not to bond with this person, but to use this person and this connection as a distraction from our own thoughts and those voices in our head. And last but not least, it says unconscious self-sabotage. Sometimes when we didn't grow up seeing healthy examples of structure or discipline or success, since our subconscious fears was unfamiliar, even when it's good for us. So when we grow up in certain environments where we didn't always see um structure, we didn't always see a high level of success, we didn't always see a high level of healthy communication, we didn't always see a high level of just love. Even when good things come into our life, we don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to deal with that. We never had that before. And so even though we know this is good for us, even though we know this can help our life for the better, a lot of times we push away the best people and the best things for us because we don't think we deserve to have good people and good things in our life. Or we think that because we've very rarely had good people and good things in our life, that that's always the life that we're supposed to live. And that's just not true, man. That's just not true. And so I want to answer a couple of key like this um really help me think of when it comes to talking about this, right? We're gonna go from there. Or the key questions that we should be asking ourselves as we deal with this, right? So, question number one: why do we do this? Why do we avoid doing the work we know will change our life? The fear of success, the fear of having to be disciplined for long periods of time. You think a lot of people are afraid to fail, but a lot of people are afraid to see what their life will look like if they actually succeeded. And because they're afraid to do that, we will self-sabotage all of the good things in our life, even when it could change our life for the better. Because we've never been that person. We've never seen success in our life. Just like I said earlier. And because we haven't, we honestly think that we don't deserve it. And when you think you don't deserve something, you will do everything in your power, either subconsciously or intentionally, to ruin it. Or if you so used to living your life the way you want to, having no structure, having no plan in place, having no direction of what you're trying to do with your life. If somebody or something asks you to change that, and that's all you ever known, we don't want to change. We want to do the things we always done. But the question I ask you is that if you keep doing the things you've always done and you see that it's getting you nowhere, you see that it's not improving your life, it's not getting you any closer to what real success can look like for you, then don't you think it's time to do something different? Don't you think it's time to change? Aren't you tired of getting in your own way and blocking your own blessings? I'm tired. I'm tired of knowing how talented and gifted I am and knowing that I have these calling on my life or what God is supposed to be doing with me. I'm tired of knowing that and feeling it, but never doing anything about it. I'm tired of that. I guess the real question is, aren't you too? What's another reason that we do this? Why do we avoid doing the work when we know it can change our life for the better? It's our childhood traumas and our comfort zones. A lot of us have such deep wounds and deep things that we need to deal with and that we need to address in our life that we never have, or that a lot of us don't even know exist. And if I'm being honest, if we never admit that they exist, if we never acknowledge them, if we never tend to the wound, because one of my favorite examples I always give when you talk about wounds in our life is that, think about it. When you have a wound and you have a scar and you never tend to it, you never address it, you never acknowledge it, and eventually that scar can become infected. And the thing about an infection with the body is that the infection may start in this one place, but over time, if it continues to be untreated, it starts to impact other parts of your body. It starts to put you in pain in places that you were never even inflicted in. It's the same thing in our life. If we don't deal with our childhood dramas, if we don't deal with our scars, if we don't deal with our wounds, if we don't at least acknowledge that they're real and that they have kept us in these comfort zones because we're afraid of having to deal with them, end up infecting other parts of our life that were never supposed to be touched. And you will look up and wonder why you're not where you're wanting to be in your life. And it's because you got scars and wounds that you never dealt with. The need for distractions. Why do we avoid doing the work when we know it can change our life? Is because the need for distraction. When shit start getting real, when shit start getting hard, when shit start having you questioning your whole life, and sometimes we just need a break. Sometimes we just need to get our mind off things. But the sad part about it is that sometimes us as humans, including myself, is that it's okay to get your mind off of things that you're struggling with. But ask yourself, is this distraction or this thing I'm using to get my mind off things, is it a healthy one? Or is it something that is just further magnifying why I can't get ahead in my life? So for instance, if kicking it is always your first result to escape from your problems, or doing a bunch of drugs and doing a bunch of drinking is always your first result to get your mind off of things, or going through a bunch of women or going through a bunch of dudes and bragging about it is what you do to get your mind off of things, is that really gonna make you feel any better? Or is it just gonna make you feel good for the moment? And then as soon as you sober up, or as soon as you leave that club, or as soon as you bust that nut, or whatever the case may be, as soon as that's over, then you realize that you still feel just as bad as you did before you started doing all of that. So we avoid doing the work with these temporary distractions because at least for the moment, when I'm being distracted by this person, or I'm being distracted by this drink or this drug or this party or this vacation or whatever, at least even though I'm dealing with some stuff right now, when I distract myself with these things, at least we feel better for the moment. And some people are fighting so hard to just feel good about themselves that they rather accept temporary distractions than dealing with their wounds and their scars that could actually change their life for the better. And that's tough, man. We like avoid being alone with our thoughts. Again, man, because a lot of people see being alone as this hard and terrible and scary thing to do, when it's actually one of the most productive and peaceful things that you could ever have in your life, is being able to be in solitude with nothing and nobody but yourself. Man, but for some people, their thoughts are so loud, and their mind never seems to stop racing. They're asking themselves a million and one questions, and they thinking about all of their scars and all of their wounds and all of their hurt times and all of the times they wish they had done something different, or all of the times that they made a mistake, or all of the times where they wish they had been loved. They're thinking about all of that shit when you by yourself. And for some people, they can't find solitude in that. But for the people that don't mind being to themselves and being with themselves, they aren't perfect, but they've done the work in such a way to where I'm okay sitting with my thoughts and thinking about those things, not because I've got it all figured out, but a lot of times just because they're willing to do the work and heal the wounds that most people would try to hide and pretend doesn't even exist. And the crazy thing is that the people that are willing to do the work and heal those wounds, a lot of times they never even do heal the wound. But it's being willing to try and do the work that makes all the difference in the world. Makes all the difference in the world, man. And last but not least, a lot of us, we know what we need to do. Like for me, I have the structure in my life for the most part, right? I know what I need to do in my business and in my personal life. I know. But a lot of times I can get so overwhelmed. I have these episodes where I'm dealing with my depression and my anxiety and my overthinking. I get so caught up in that to where even though I know what I need to do, I don't do anything. And I think that's that perfect example of, even though I'm dealing with hard things, choosing to always try to find temporary distractions just because I'm depressed and just because I'm dealing with anxiety and just because I'm overwhelmed. Trying to find temporary distractions all the time in place of that is the epitome of watching your talent erode in real time. And again, when a person is wasting their talent in real time, it doesn't feel like they're wasting their talent. Because a lot of times when you're a talented and gifted person, you think that I can bullshit my way through it. I can bullshit my way through life, and my talent is going to make up for it. But there are just certain things in your life that no matter how much talent, no matter how gifted, no matter how special you are, you're just going to keep getting in your own way until something about you and about your life, man, just begins to change. And again, I was just sitting with myself and I'm just like, man, if I don't end up changing, am I going am I going to ever have the things that I truly want out of this life? Am I going to be able to live comfortably with the nice beautiful house and my beautiful family that can travel when they want and the business is running itself? Will I ever be able to have those things at a high level? Or will I be the dude that goes his whole life and everybody knew how talented and how smart and how gifted he was, but he was the dude that never could figure it out. He was the dude that could have been, that should have been. Or am I going to be the one that starts to do the hard work, that deep work, and do the boring shit consistently, even though it sucks, because I know I'm working for something bigger and better. And because I want to leave you with this last point. When you're doing the disciplined things, when you're doing the hard things, when you're doing the boring things, it doesn't feel like progress in the middle of that. It feels like you're barely moving, right? But when you look up after 90 days, when you look up after 6 months, when you look up after a year, even though you were barely moving, you'll look up and you'll realize, man, I'm so much further than what I used to be. Even though the steps seem minimal, even though even though they seem minuscule, like small, I'm so much further than I used to be. But if every time it's time to do the discipline and the hard things, we choose to indulge in temporary distractions and temporary feelings and temporary moments of what feels like happiness, you still taking small steps, but you just taking small steps in the wrong direction. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be a big deal until you look up and you realize, damn, I'm hundreds of thousands of miles in the wrong direction. And I'm nowhere near the life I was supposed to be living. I'm nowhere near being the person that God created me to be. I'm nowhere near being satisfied If I was to leave today, I would be nowhere near satisfied with my life. And I would be scared to death to leave this place, not because death is scary, even though it is, because I would be knowing in the back of my head, I didn't do anything near what I was supposed to. Man, at some point, talent isn't enough. It takes more than that. And until you get over your fear of success or failure and not wanting to be disciplined, and you deal with your childhood scars and wounds, and you realize that the distractions only feel good for the moment, but they gonna hurt you in the long run. And you realize that, man, at some point being to yourself is not a problem, but it's a place of peace. And that even though you have a lot on your shoulders and it can be overwhelming, it can be depressing, it can bring along anxiety. I get it. But until you follow through with the stuff you already know you need to do, your life will never change, man. And I'm gonna end it right there. I love y'all, man, so much. So much. I love y'all, man. Um, this episode was brought to you by SpeakUPZee LLC, man, where we turn real conversations into real impact. Through dynamic speaking engagements, hands-on workshops, strategic consulting, and even professional writing services, I help schools, businesses, and organizations tap into the power of entrepreneurship, personal development, community outreach, and leadership. Whether it's equipping young people with essential life skills, guiding small business owners to build sustainable brands, or crafting compelling written content that drives engagement and growth, SpeakUPZee is all about bridging the gap between ideas and execution. Our writing services are designed to help you communicate your message with clarity and impact, be it through your website content, marketing materials, strategic communication, whatever it may be. If you or your organization need a dynamic speaker, a robust marketing strategy, or content that truly connects, tap in with me. Visit speakupzee.com/esquire. Shoot me a DM. Text me at 469-851-7235, or even just book a consultation today, man. Stop waiting and let's start building. I love y'all, man. Peace.
Hey, what's up? This is Will Z Tidwell with SpeakUPZee. And I just want to take a quick second just to thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of SpeakUPZee the podcast. And my only goal with this platform is to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you around all things life, business, and mental health, whether it's myself or me bringing on a special guest. So I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. We don't ask for any type of monetary gains or anything like that. The best thing you could do for us is just like and subscribe to the channel. Until next week, we'll see y'all later. Peace.